Okay, welcome back. Today we are going to create a character out of simple Maya primitives. In order to do so, we need to get familiar with the Maya menu. So if you take a look up here in the left-hand corner, you want to make sure that you have your options set to polygons, as well as here, you want to make sure that you see the different polygons available for you. On the left-hand side, most of you are familiar with this. We have the basic tools, which is the select tool, the lasso select tool. If you hold your mouse over, it will actually show you the name of the tool. The basic move tool with the shortcut W, the rotation tool with the shortcut E, as well as the scale tool, which allows you to make things smaller or larger with the shortcut R on your keyboard. So for now, these will be the basic tools that we're going to be using. In addition to our Extrude Tool, that will allow us to create additional geometry on our polygon. So what I'm going to do is begin by creating a simple character, and I'm going to double click the cube right over here, and Maya allows you to create a different number of width, height, and depth divisions. So for now, I'm going to leave it at 4 each. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on my graph and push up, and there it is. I have a basic cube. Now for those of you not familiar, as a refresher, you can press 3. 3 will soften those edges. And in addition to that, if I want to create a robot out of Maya primitives, what I can do is I can press R and flatten that shape as well. Okay, so once we have this cube, this will be the torso. We can shape it just by going to our R tool, which is a scale tool, and we can push the handles. And as you can see, the handles, the top handle, will allow you to stretch it in the Y position. And of course, this is pretty simple and self-explanatory. The right handle here will allow you to scale it in the Z position. And of course, we have this handle here, and that's the X position, okay? So let's begin by creating some arms for our robot character. So I'm going to go ahead and make a sphere. Maybe with 10 subdivisions should be fine. And simple Maya primitive, I'm going to click and drag and press 3 to soften my sphere. And then what I'm going to do is press E to rotate that sphere so that this little 1 point here that pinches on the bottom and top hides when I bring it closer to my character. And this will be sort of like the bicep of my robot, and this is why Maya is so fun. We can use several shapes to create a character. By pressing R, I can simply take the middle handle and click and drag to scale it down, and that's the middle handle. Okay, and right over here we can go ahead and put that character's arm in. A simple little trick, if we want to just duplicate it, is what we can do is press Command D, and we can duplicate that sphere and put it on the other side. And this is what's really great about Maya, is you have different computer commands that sort of ease the workflow. When we get more advanced, we are going to be using instances and mirroring, which will be a bit more advanced and complicated, but it will ease the workflow as well when it comes to modeling advanced characters. All right, so once we have the arms, we can go ahead and create a cylinder, and I'm going to go ahead and change the divisions here that we have for axis divisions. We can go ahead and put 4, and I can go ahead and put 4 here, just want extra geometry. I'm going to go ahead and create the cylinder. Now, I want to remind you that once you create something, you can go ahead and rotate it into place. So you can rotate it directly into place. Always remember to hold down Command and look at it from 3D space. Otherwise, you might think you're putting it in the right direction. when in fact, I'll give you an example. You might think you're putting in the right direction, but when you look over here, the geometry is not placed correctly. So always make sure you look from the top, you look from the bottom, the side, okay, and make sure that placement works for you. But also a neat little trick is you can go to the attributes editor, which is right here. So if you go under Windows and you look at all the different editors, including your attributes editor, what you can do is take a look at the options you have here. The P-cylinder attributes editor allows you to rotate. If you want a 90 degrees angle, you can just go ahead and go in here and type in 90. And so instead of moving it into place, you can just put it into place by using the coordinates in the attributes editor for the transformation. Okay, so that's another option that you can use to your advantage. So today I'm just making a very simple character. You can definitely get creative with this. You can go ahead and stretch this, move it into place. A neat little trick too is you can duplicate a whole set, okay, of objects, and then we're going to get into parenting. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of these geometries here. Let's make sure this is in the center. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select both, and then what I'm going to do is press Command D, and what I'm going to do at this point is press R and just scale this down, and you will notice that they separate, and that's because I haven't parented them yet, which is fine. Okay, and then I'm going to move this part of the arm. Probably want to go ahead and just scale this down a little bit more and put my lower part of the arm in here, maybe even rotate it just a little bit to give it a character. Okay, and maybe for the actual, let's make this a little bit longer. For the actual hand, since it is a robot, I can just simply use a cube. So you can go ahead and create a cube. It doesn't have to be complicated. Okay. There we go. Remember, it's really up to your imagination to create some character that you really want to animate eventually. Okay, there we go. Also, make sure that you rotate the sphere to the desired position, especially if it's going to be facing upwards. You want to make sure that you rotate the sphere. Okay, so once I have these nice long arms, I'm ready to include a hand. So let's go ahead and make another cube. Double click the cube icon, and I'm going to make this little cube for the hands, and once again press 3 to soften it. Once again, I can move it into position, or I can play with the coordinates here, whichever one you prefer. But I do recommend that you get used to moving things into position. It will make you a better modeler and animator to get more familiar with the 3D space. Very simple. That's what we're going to do, is just create a little robot. And let's go ahead and rotate this up. Press W, move this up. Maybe flatten it just a little bit by pressing R. Okay, and these will be my hands. I can even rotate it a bit this way, and that's that. Okay, so now that we have one arm completed, many of my students always want to know, well, I don't want to recreate this on the right side. How can I just simply duplicate this and put it on the right side? And I always tell them, well, there's a whole process to it. The first thing you have to know is that if you select the geometry and you simply press Command D, you're going to have a little problem. So let me show you. As soon as I duplicate this and I push out with my move tool and I press E, this is what happens. So I can't rotate it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So what we need to do temporarily is create a hierarchy, and this is called parenting. So I want to tell Maya that everything here belongs to this arm. So basically, this belongs to this, and this here belongs to this, and this elbow belongs to this top arm, and this top arm belongs to the bicep sphere. So how do I do that? Well, it's a process called parenting. So first I select the child, as they say, and I shift select by holding down the shift key, I shift select the bottom part of the arm and I press P. So now the bottom part of the arm basically is in charge of the hand. And the next thing I want to do is take the bottom part of the arm, shift select the little sphere that's the elbow, and press P. And so now the little elbow geometry controls the entire bottom part of the arm and the hand. Now I want to take the elbow sphere and shift select the top part of the arm and press P. And so the bottom part of the top part of the arm shift selected with the bicep sphere and press P. And so now I have this wonderful hierarchy here. So if I press E, I can rotate it and nothing is going to fall out of place, which is great. Okay? Now, in order for you to see what actually happened in this hierarchy, you want to make sure that you open up your windows and that you go into your hypergraph, which is here, your hypergraph hierarchy editor. In this hypergraph hierarchy editor, you're going to notice that the top of the hierarchy, and you can always name this just by basically uncollapsing. Let me just show you. You can collapse it or basically uncollapse. This sphere 1, if you right click, you can rename this. So you can actually call it my left, so I'll just put left. It depends how you want to name it. Left arm. And you could put sphere, top sphere. Depends how you want to name it. Top and sphere. So you can name it however you want to name it as long as you understand your naming convention. And this is really important in Maya, that you name all the different elements. This will help you when you start animating. So left arm top sphere, or you could call it left arm bicep sphere, whatever you want to call it, okay? Now understand that underneath this hierarchy, we have all the different elements, okay? So let's go ahead and, since we did create this whole arm, I'm going to delete the first sphere we created for the right side. And now we are able to press Command D and go ahead and rotate this arm, just like that, over to the other side, okay? And I'm going to press W and just move it. And there it is. We really saved ourselves a lot of work. And the more you do this, the faster you get, okay? But what's really incredible about this is you can go ahead and quickly, also in addition to the arms, make yourself some quick feet. So you can go ahead and click the arm and press Command D, and you can go ahead and scroll down, just drag this down, press E to rotate, and we're going to turn this arm into feet. So I'm showing you very quickly how to create a robot. Okay, I'm sure it's not the most explicit robot here, but it's definitely a simple guy that you can work with. And now all I have to do, which is great, is just tweak a few of the different things here. I always want to create like a little bend here so that when I animate, it's a little bit easier for me. Okay, so I'm going to create a little bend, position it here, and we're going to have to tweak it just a little bit here because this is not the arm, it's going to be our leg. Okay, same with this. I'm going to go ahead and tweak it, and that's going to be our foot. Now I'm going to show you another trick today that's going to be very useful. I'm sure you all noticed by now that every time I rotate one element, it doesn't rotate from the point where I want it to rotate, and that's a little bit annoying. So there's a neat little trick that I can use when I do this, okay? For example, notice how it scales. It scales from the middle, and that's not very, not very conducive to workflow. So let's go ahead and change that a bit. I'm going to show you today how to pivot from a certain point. So, for example, if I move this, you're going to notice that the hierarchy seems to break. It's not pivoting from the correct direction. So I actually have to go in and move it one by one. I can't select all of it, okay? Today I'm going to show you how to actually drag this pivot point to the top so that it rotates from the point where I want it to rotate from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the D button, and I'm going to go ahead and move that pivot point to the top. And now, when I press E, it moves exactly from the direction I want it to move, okay? So that's what's great about Maya, is that you can actually change your pivot points, and this allows you to choose which direction you can move or rotate certain objects from. So once I'm satisfied with my leg, and I'm sure you guys will do more on this, I'm going to quickly show you that I can Command D and drag it over here. And once again, using my pivot point, I'm going to change the pivot point by holding down D, moving it to the top of my hip. And now what I can do is easily, just very easily, just rotate it over. Okay? So it looks more natural. So there it is. I created a quick robot, and once you get really good at it, it's going to be quite easy for you. Now the robot needs a head, unless it's the headless horseman. So let's go ahead and create a head for the robot. We can do so by creating a new cylinder, or we can just duplicate this. For example, at some point you might just want to create original shapes. I might have to break all these hierarchies before I start animating, but let's go ahead and create another cylinder here, and this cylinder will be my neck. Okay, I'm going to press 3 to soften it, and there's going to be my neck. All right. And once again, you have to look around in 3D space, because sometimes you think that you're putting it in the right direction when in fact you're not. I encourage you to use the space bar to look at all the panels. In fact, the space bar lets you see the front view. It switches from the perspective view to the 4-panel view, and then you can also see the front, the top, perspective, and right side simultaneously. What's nice about it is you can use the graph to guide your modeling process, okay? So this is very useful. Once again, what I want to do is just press R and maybe make my neck a little bit thicker, okay? And once I have the neck ready, the next thing I want to do is create my sphere. This time it's going to be the head sphere. Press 3. And as you can see, I'm using all 4 views now to create what I need to. Once again, you could also use the attributes editor. And there it is, a very simple character, very simple. I mean, we can make it a little bit more entertaining, give him a hat. Okay, let's see. There it is. I can also shape the character. And this is where we become a little bit more creative. For example, if I right-click on the head and I select a vertex point, which is a component, I can do a lot of different things. For example, if this is supposed to be the part where it's going to be the nose of my character, I can press W and I can pull that nose out. Now, you have to be careful. I want to show you something. When you do things, by mistake, you might be pulling the points behind. In order not to do that, I really suggest that you always go ahead and select things. And when you select things, you always look in your 4 panels. Okay? And you can also switch over to the 4, which is the wireframe. So 5 is the shaded mode and 4 is the wireframe. And this way you can see that this point is selected. But I'm here to tell you that the reason why this point is selected is not because by mistake I grabbed both of these points. It's because then my move tool has something called mirroring on it. And what I'm going to show you today is if this happens to you, double click on your move tool and scroll down, and you're going to see that reflection, okay, is on. It's a kind of mirroring. I'm going to turn it off, and this is going to get rid of my problem. So now when I actually click on the nose, for example here, go back to 5, which is my shaded mode, I can go ahead and just push out my little nose, and I don't have these problems anymore. Another neat trick is for us to play with some of the edges. If we right click and select an edge, we can do several things. We can double click the whole edge and it selects the entire loop. We can then press R and we can really manipulate that surface, okay? So just by double clicking one edge, it will basically select the entire edge loop, and then we can scale it or we can make it smaller, okay? Depends on your design. All right, and in addition to that, you can just select small, just single edges, And with these single edges, you can select them and press W. I usually use the top view and just push those out, okay? So this is what we have so far. We can also scale the edges, and this you can be careful with, just to create a little bit of an effect here, okay? And another great tool that we have is we have the Extrude Tool, and this is where things become fun. If I want to create a mouth, I can right-click, select face, select these two faces, press W, and what I can do is at this point, if I push it in, it's just going to look like that. But if I create additional geometry, I can create a mouth cavity, a very simple cartoony mouth cavity. And how do I do that? Well, the first thing that I can do is basically I can go ahead and press this Extrude Tool here. Okay, I'm going to click on it. As soon as you click on it, you want to make sure that you switch over. You either push this blue, okay, Z move tool in, or you switch over to W, which is helpful, and you can just push that geometry in just like that. Okay, so now what I did was I created additional geometry. As you can see, all these walls here, faces, and now we have a mouth for our very nice robot character. Okay, and if we want to get creative, we can go ahead and click on the actual cone. And with the cone, we can create some subdivisions, maybe like 5, 3 for that. And with this little cone, we can create a nice little hat for our robot. And so I'm going to just go ahead and move the cone and right on top of the head. And if I want to, I can press D, push down the pivot point, and now what I can do is easily move it into position, okay? And with E, I can rotate it into position so it looks more natural, okay? So there it is, guys. Very simple character. Of course, you can get very creative and add buttons and eyeballs with spheres and more things. The next thing that we want to do is we want to parent everything. So we already did the arms. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch to the object view. Now what we need to do is take the arms, shift select the body, and press P, because now the body controls the arm. Shift select the arm and the body and press P. Now what we want to do is shift select the hat and the head and press P. Shift select the head and the neck and press P. Shift select the neck and the body and press P. And finally shift select the legs and the body and press P. Shift select the legs and the body and press P. And so now the torso is my main controller. Remember, you don't have to do it this way. You can create, you can also create like, you know, you can go into surfaces or curves. You can create a circle that's going to control your torso and be your main controller. And we can get into that a little bit later. But for now, this is a very, very basic setup. And so what's great about this is I can go into my timeline, which is 24 frames, 1 second. And what I can do is click on one. And on one, I can go ahead and press S to key my arm, S to key my arm, S to key my neck, S to key my body. So now I created a trigger. The S key basically sets a keyframe on one. And then what I can do is go ahead and go to ½ second, and I can switch over to the E key, and I can go ahead and rotate my arms. And notice the Maya puts a keyframe for you. That's because I have this wonderful auto key toggle on, which means that Maya is capturing every move and recording it with keyframes. So now what I can do is just go ahead and just twist things a bit. I can move those legs a little bit. Okay. He's doing a little dance move. I can go ahead and even move the entire body just like that. And this is what we have. Okay, guys? A very quick animation. Of course, he's sliding a bit, and that you can fix by putting additional keyframes. When we become more advanced and we have an advanced tutorial, I'll definitely talk to you about putting in IK, which is basically an animation tool for inverse kinematics right here, but that's more advanced. So for those of you that want to explore, please have fun. Create your robot character out of primitives. Make sure that you create a hierarchy and do a simple animation. And once you're finished with your animation, you can go ahead and right-click on Play Blast, which is the little options box. Once again, right-click on the timeline, Play Blast. In the Play Blast window, make sure you have QuickTime, you have the encoding, which is H261, and also make sure your quality is 100, your scale is at 1. You can go ahead and save this little test on your desktop as test. And once you're done, you can go ahead and click on Play Blast. And what Maya does is Maya creates a quick little QuickTime movie for you that shows you your animation. And you can go ahead and preview your animation. You can go ahead and loop it. This way you can show it to all your friends or even upload it to YouTube once it's more complex and finished. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your animations.